Welcome to Right Talk. My name is Patrick Ngugi, a Kenyan author and poet, generally a writer. And this is the first time we are doing these Right Talk podcasts on YouTube. We have earlier on been doing it on Facebook. That's Right Academy Facebook page, which we later on give more details about. So this podcast will be generally talking about news about books, publishing, and others, and also give writing tips as far as poetry and writing fiction and non-fiction material. Please go ahead and like and comment this channel if you are up to or interested in writing book reviews, and if you have got a calling for writing, because this is what it's all about. And for those who may not know about myself, I'm a Kenyan author, as I said earlier on. I'm a published author of 10 novels and a lot of other manuscripts that I still have to see the light of day. And we shall be also tackling the challenges that others go through before they see, if they ever see, their manuscripts being turned into published books. And that could be the reason why many of our Kenyan publishers are going to self-publishing, because it seems an easier way rather than having to take to what we call traditional publishers, who usually take a long time. But for good reasons, if you ask me, or if you ask them, before they actually accept your material for publication. And so, this being the first episode of this channel, of Right Talk channel, we are going to try, at least I'm going to try and answer a question that I have been approached by so many people asking me, particularly those who want to be writers or feel they have a calling for writers, and that is, how do I become a writer? How do I become general? Of course, how do I become a successful writer? Writer as in publisher, or rather published author, because we can all be writers, we all write, but is your material good enough for publication? So how do I become a published author? That's what we are going to start, exploring and explaining in this series of videos that we'll be producing. And whatever I'll be sharing with you, I've also shared in my online course at Right Academy. I own Right Academy. It's an online school for those people who would like to know or to go into serious publishing of writing and publishing of novels, maybe poetry. Okay, I don't teach a lot of poetry, but although I do poems. But as far as novels, novellas, short story writing, that's my area. And you can learn about how to do it through my writing school, online writing school, Right Academy, whose contact will be put in the description space below. So today we'll tackle that question. How do I need to do to become a writer? But before that, every week, before we give you more tips or answer your questions, we shall be giving you the week's what we've collected in the online, in the news about books, latest books, and what is happening in the publication world, book publication world. Sorry. And so we go straight ahead to give you what I've gathered. I've gathered two interesting articles about books, about publishing, which I want to share with you. And also after that, then I can come back and talk about a few tips of how to become a published author. And so right away, we go to the review of the week, our weekly feedback, where I will come back immediately and give you at least talk about two articles which I came across on the internet this week, which will be of a lot of interest. So don't go far, stick around until come back for the next part. Thank you. And here we are again. I want to talk about this news item I came across the other day about the dark side of Heineken's Africa Beer Empire. Many of you may have heard of this name, Heineken, and we're actually showing a photograph there. You can see a photograph of the brand. Actually, what we are seeing here is a book by Dutch investigative journalist Oliver Beerman, who published a book called The Dark Side of Heineman's African Beer Empire. So I will read briefly the report. As I read, I will comment, and you can see what's happening here. It's talked about a lot of high level corruption, in the beer distribution, market, particularly in this um, company, but it could be happening to, through by many other companies also. But here we go. So the book is called The Dark Side of Heineken's African Beer Empire, and it's by Dutch investigative journalist Oliver Beerman, who exposes unethical practices of Heineken in Africa. And the article says that over 6 years of research across 13 African countries, including Nigeria, Beerman has uncovered high-level corruption, suppression of local brewers, and collaboration with authoritarian regimes and rebel factions. His findings was shared during a book reading event in Abuja and reveal how weak government regulations enable any camp to engage in unethical advertising and business practices. So he goes on to say, Berman goes on to highlight that Heinekens enjoy more marketing freedom in Africa compared to the strict regulation in Western countries. For instance, schools in Enugu are painted with brewery colors and logos, turning corporate social responsibilities, CSR, into another form of advertisement. Many Africans are unaware of their national brands, such as Primus in Congo and Stabler and Star Redler in Nigeria, are actually owned by Heineken, which profits are going to shareholders outside Africa. Nigeria, Heineman's second most profitable market, or rather, Nigeria, which is Heineman's second most profitable market in Mexico, is crucial for the company, contributing half of its continent-wide turnover. Despite claims of fostering local growth and development, their money investigation suggests otherwise. The book also exposes corruption, misinformation, and exploitation of women for marketing purposes. For example, in Nigeria, Heineken CEO used sex workers to promote beer and market competitors. Beerman's revelation challenged Heineken's ethical stance, showing that even in 1990s, questions about their practices were being raised. He concludes that despite Heineken's promise of social responsibility, their action often failed to meet standards. There you are. We are talking about Heineken, and you can see the local beer companies in some of these countries were forced to be suppressed so that we can give advantage to this particular one. And I was just wondering, like some time ago in Kenya, many of traditional brews, which may not have been, too much high level alcohol content, as they said, when illegal brew were being kicked out, illegal in quotes. Many of the local traditional brew were removed from the scene, so that maybe big brewers can get good market share. But then that's just what I tend to think. Anyway, we are not talking about drinking here, but we are talking about this book, which has allegedly unearthed these corrupt practices. But what do you think? What do you think about that? Because books is not just about stories, it's not just about fiction. We do research, we write material, and they turn into books. What do you think about that story? Maybe you can give a comment below and let's hear what your opinion are. And so let's go to the next piece, which is about AI. We know people are now becoming instant authors by just using AI. But if you know how to read a genuine story done by a genuine writer, done by a good author or an author, you'll be able to pick and know whether this story is by AI or is original creation by the author. And we do have apps which can tell you whether this material is by AI or is by a real author. And even the computer are becoming so clever these days. Sometimes you go to an app and you want to log in. That app, which is an AI material, asks you to prove you're not a robot. So even they want to know stuff. But anyway, imagine paying 8,000. Imagine paying 1,200 to $5,000 just to get your material edited and tidied up and put it to the market by AI, artificial intelligence. No human editor, but a machine, a computer, an AI that will be able to edit your story. I don't know about whether it will design, but edit it and then put it ready for publication. $1,200, between $1,200 to $5,000 to have the AI machine or equipment or computer or app edit your story and format it and design. Would you be able? I mean, that's for what you call free. What do you call why is it running away from me? What you call self-publishing, because obviously we know many people are going to self-publishing. But will you be able to? We know it's expensive doing self-publishing, but will you be able to pay $5,000 to edit? I listened to this story. This equipment, or this app, or this special gadget has been launched by a company called Spines. It's called a startup. And Spines is planning to use AI to publish 8,000 books in 2025. Spines will charge authors between $1,200 and $5,000 to edit, format, design, and distribute their books. Yeah, it's a whole package. Edit, format, design, and distribute their books. And it claims that this will streamline publishing processes, and others will keep 100% of their royalties. Remember, when you do with the traditional marketing, you only get a percentage of the royalties. But when you go through them after paying the $5,000, between 1,200 to $5,000, you will get to keep 100% of royalties, obviously, so long as the book sells. Otherwise, you may end up paying that money, but the book may not sell depending on the market. Although they say they will be distributing the markets for you, they mean the books for you. So if you have $5,000, go ahead. But critics, including independent publisher Conan Gate and author Sui Davis Okungobwa, that must be a Nigerian, have condemned the company, calling it exploitative and dismissive of craftsmanship. What? These aren't people who care about books, Okungobwa said, while Conan Gate describes Pine's approach as prioritizing automation over quality. Industry experts like Deidre J. Owen of Manison Press and Marco Raldi of Page One says the writers' podcast argue Spines is essentially a vanity publisher despite its claims otherwise. And Anna Gailey of Society of Authors warned writers against paying for publication, citing risks of unmet expectations and concern over AI impact over originality. Spines promised to publish books in 2 to 3 weeks and at a lower costs, she said. Raises doubts about quality and ethics, particularly if AI tools were trained on unlawfully sourced copyrighted material. What I mean is perhaps those tools were fed with copyright material. So I don't know. I think experts will understand what they are saying there. Defending its model, Spine stated its goal is to democratize publishing, addressing barriers faced by others, rejected by traditional publishers, or priced out of vanity options. Co-founder Yehuda Neve said, Spines offer faster, cost-effective alternative to self-publishing, which often requires months of effort and expertise. That's what we said earlier, alternatives to traditional publishing, which can take years before your book is out. They say they're offering you a quicker method using this AI, and of course, you pay that money. And they say that Spines aim to publish 1 million books using technology, asserting it empowers others by handling logistical challenges, allowing them to focus on writing. The startup's approach aligns with the trends with the Microsoft recent announcement of rapid book publishing imprint and HarperCollins agreement to use AI in publishing. However, the controversy underscores deep industry concern about AI role in shaping the future of literature. What do you think? Um, a lot of things are going into automation. People have been complaining, the labor market have been complaining that their jobs are being taken because of machines and so on. Others, publish others. I was wondering whether sorry to say that, but every Tom and Dick and Harry will be able to write because all they needed to do is put a heading, an idea of a story, and the AI produces the story itself. Who has produced that story? The love, the creativity, the sweating, the joy of producing a story after working on it. Is it going to be thrown down the drain? Because when you have a craft and you're gifted and when you produce it from your own creation and it's there, and alternatively there's somebody who can just feed a computer, put ideas there, and the computer produces a story. But as we can say, when you thoroughly read between the lines of the words, you can always tell an AI-generated story or an original story by another. Anyway, that is beside the point, but there you are. Are you willing to pay $5,000? I'm not even attempting to put it in Kenya shillings to get your books out. Are you? Anyway, thank you. That's what I had for you today in this segment. And please put your comment below so that we read and see what you think about it. So stick around as we go now to the tips all about how you can become an author. So here we are, we're back again. Welcome again, and we now go to that segment where we share one or two tips about writing, particularly for the newbies or even all people already into writing, but they may want to maybe gather new ideas of how to do stuff. But then generally, we are going to be very basic for this first installment. We're going to be very basic just to see what goes in another's mind or somebody who wants to be not to write a story. Maybe the last time you wrote anything was when you did your composition in school, decades ago, centuries ago, maybe for some people. Because there are some people who have gone into retirement, and for the first time they think they can write a book, and they start and they become bestsellers, or at least they become good. Maybe you're such a person, or maybe you are not yet retired, of course, but you have this urge, you have this feeling that you want to start writing, and you want to know, you want to get something, some knowledge, some info, some sharing from somebody whom some people would call a guru. At least a friend of mine calls me guru, but in other areas. But here we are. So and as I said, this is just a snapshot of what I normally give in my writing school, online writing school, Write Academy, whose contact, whose address you're going to find below this video. So in this video, you want to see, or this episode, you want to see what you need to do, or what you need to be, what you need to in order to be a writer. And what I normally tell people is, if you want to be a writer, write. That's the simplest answer. Just go and write. Because before you hold a pen and a paper, or put a pen to paper and do something about it, you'll never be a writer just by wishing or wanting to be a writer. So the thing is, go and write. The question is, where do I get ideas from? How do I start? Ideas are all over you. Ideas are all over your mind. They're all over the place. You see them in the marketplace. You see them in the church. You see them in the bus. You see them on the road. So ideas are there. And all you need to know is how to pick them up and start packing them together into a flowing story. And that we are going to go through it. We're going to learn it as we go across. Another question is, are writers born or made? Can one be a good writer without training? If you have the passion, if you have the talent, yes, you could be a good writer, but training is very, is vital. Good training will help you identify the elements that are needed, the general, which journal you may be interested in. And there's so much you need to be. So writers can be writers, those who have the talent obviously are born, but they may not be good writers until maybe that talent is discovered. And after it's discovered, it's nurtured and brought up into limelight. There are others who become writers. We may not say they have the talent, but after the training and so long as they have the passion, they can be a good writer and then they can be published. Some of such good people, some of such could be people who write, who do research, put items together like journalists. Maybe you were once a journalist, or you are a journalist, and you have been trained how to put ideas together, info together, material together, form into a story, and then you publish a book. It could be a book on research, or it could be an autobiography. You go interview some people or a person, and you write their story for them. Autobiography is done like that way. So you can be trained. You can learn how to write if you are not born one. But those who are born writers, people with talent, obviously, they have to be trained to hone their talents. Yeah. So what do you need to write fiction? You need a pen and a paper. What are you going to write with? And of course, equipment, a laptop. I have a friend who wrote a whole story with her phone. Those are the tools. Yes, that's what you need. And then, of course, you need yourself. Yeah. And that's what you need to write. But where do you get the stories? They are here. They are around you, as I said. And we'll show you how it is done, how you can gather them and put them together. A good friend of mine once told me she wants to write a story. The story is in her head, is all complete in her head, but she doesn't know how to get it out. Yeah? It reminds me of this small boy who was seated at a piano. He was struggling to play the piano, and he was crying because the tunes or the tones or melody were not coming the way he wanted to come. And He was really angry and throwing tantrums. He was a young boy. He was a young boy, about 9, 10. Very angry. Somebody asked him, what are you? What's the problem? Why are you so angry? And the answer, the response was, he heard the song in his head. He could hear the song in his head. The problem was he was not able to put it in the key until he was trained. After he was trained, he was able to do the same thing. You may have a whole story complete in your head, but how do you put it down? How do you start? Or even after you started, how do you arrange it? That we shall be discussing as we go along. And then something else that you need to know or to have in order to be a good writer, even if you have the passion, or rather, even if you have the talent and you've been trained and you want to be a writer, if you don't have these three things, you will never succeed. And I call them 3 Ps. And these 3 Ps are passion. You have to have the passion to write. You have to have the persistence to write. And you have to have the patience to write. Passion, because if you don't feel it, if you don't like it, if you don't have that feeling that you want to birth this child who is in the womb of the imagination, if you don't have that passion, it will never work. You'll sit in front of the typewriter or the laptop or the journal you want to write, and then you feel bored, you just leave it. Persistence is another thing. You have to sit there daily. Well, not necessarily daily. You have to program yourself so that you know at this time I have to sit and finish. I have to sit and finish. You can decide, for example, my own way of doing it. Every day I devote an hour and I don't get out of that table, that seat, until that 1 hour is gone. And during that 1 hour, I know I'll have finished a chapter. If it was a chapter I was doing, or I'll have at least done my planning, my planning, the plot, the characters building, and so on. You devote 1 hour and you be persistent on that. You keep on doing it. Before you know it, the book is done. You do a page every day. You do a page. In a year, you have 365 pages. Is that easy? And a page can take you like 15 minutes, half an hour. It's that easy, but you have to be persistent. Then you have to be patient. Don't rush your work. Don't try to say, I want to rush this book. It's not ending the way I want it to end, or it's not developing the way I want it to develop. One thing you should know about writing, it reaches a point when characters you are working on, the chapters you are working on, decide for you how they want to be written. You may have planned your character to behave this way at a particular point, or to go to a particular place at a particular time, or in a dialogue to respond in a particular way. But they revolt. They get their own life and start changing your story. So, and when it is that time, you should remember that now it is your higher self. It's not your ego that's writing. Your higher self, the spirit, as whatever you may call it, has taken over, and now it's writing the way, because it's a higher self, not you, not your ego, who had given you the idea in the first place. So the higher self, you are now connected to it, and it is now directing you on how the story should be. Let me give you an example. Sometimes you stand to speak in public, and when you're beginning, you don't know what to say. But as you just have a rough idea, but you don't know how to continue the speech. But somewhere along the speech, you get carried away in a good way, and you become an orator. Words, sentences, ideas start flowing through you into a speech, and you're told that was a very good speech. And if you listen to that speech in a recording later on, you'll wonder, was I really me? It was your higher self, your real self, now doing the talking. The same thing happens in writing. At one point, the higher self, the real you, takes over and writes for you. And that's how you feel if you're not aware what's happening. You may feel like the character is disobeying and things are happening and so on. Writing is like creation. You are the creator. God is a creator. God created us, but sometimes we behave the way God does not want us to behave. The same with you. You create your characters in your novel, in your manuscript as they are, you are developing them. They disagree with you. They want to go their own way. It's natural. So you created them, but now they challenge you. So those are the tips for today. And as we go along, I'll be giving you more tips. How to organize all those ideas in your head together in one, in a proper, proper way, so that it grows into a novel, how to finish and so on, the big character building and so on. So that's what I had today, the tricks, how to start. You need a pen, you need a paper, you need a laptop, you need those ideas. If you don't know where to get them, go into the marketplace, read a newspaper, watch TV. Ideas are there, they're all around us. But in the next episode, we'll start seeing how you put them together and how to go, along until you start seeing the story developing. So there you are. So let's have your comment in the space below to see what you think about this episode. And also, if you have not, yet, subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to this episode, so that whenever we come out in the next episode of the podcast, you'll be informed. And also subscribe and share and ring the bell. And so until the next time, this is Patrick Ngugi signing off. And until next time when we meet in Right Talk. Thank you very much and God bless. Keep writing.